Hi everybody, today we had a great game between Viswanathan and Anand, the Indian Grandmaster, and French Grandmaster Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, playing Norway chess tournament. Classical game, playing yesterday. Anand had white pieces. He started with e4, knight, c5, knight to a3, d6, b takes d5, b7, bishop takes b7, queen takes d7, c4, knight to f6, knight to c3. We had knight to c6 from Anand, d4, striking into that center, c takes d, knight takes d, g6, f3, and opening using this game is Sicilian defense, Moscow variation. Bishop to g7, preparing to castle. Kingside from Maxime. We have bishop to e3, castle kingside, white, castle kingside for black also. a6 from Maxime, and we had knight to b3, e6, a6, queen to e2. This is all standard stuff, developing moves. Queen to e7, rook d1, rook to d8, rook to c1, also developing moves, nothing special. Rook to c8 from Maxime, and we have knight to d4, knight to d7, b3, b5, c takes b5, knight takes d4, we have bishop takes d4, and bishop takes b4 with a follow-up with rook takes b4, egg takes b4, and in this position you cannot play knight capture this pawn because it's poison pawn, and that's why Anand play rook to d2. It's obvious move, because if you capture that pawn you're gonna lose your rook. That's why we have queen to d2 and rook to b8. Now defend this pawn who was attacked by this knight. Rook take d6, putting up pressure on that knight. Maybe later with the idea to triple up the attack. So he responds with b4, knight go to e2, and knight to e5. We had rook to d1, knight to c6 from Maxime, and this is the first small mistake from Maxime. Better variation for him was simply rook take d6, and after queen take d6, queen take d6, rook take d6. After a couple of exchange, the game will be equal and he could fight. But instead of that, he made a small mistake, decreased his position, and we have now follow up with e5, queen to a7 check. He goes to h1 and queen to f2 from Maxime. Rook to c1. The threat is to capture this. Knight. You cannot capture. Sorry, you cannot capture with this rook because you're gonna lose the queen. But he attacked the knight. Rook takes rook, d takes rook, and a knight to go to e5. h3 from Anand. He just, with this move, he just wanna avoid some background mates later on. Rook to b5, and we have f4, kicking the knight to d7. Queen to d4, asking for queen exchange, and that is the best move in this position. So Maxime realized that and accept this queen exchange. Knight takes d4 with attack on the rook, and rook goes to d5. We had a rook knight to c6, rook takes d6, and we have knight takes b4. And if you look position from this 34 move, you are all agree with me that white had so better chance on winning this game against black. Reason why is that? Is because he had two connected passed pawn from the left side, and black doesn't have any passed pawn, and from the right side black had 4 pawns against 3 pawns. So I think with the correct play, this is the black can win in this game. e5, f takes e5, knight takes e5, rook to c5, rook to d1, king to h2, f6, we had a4, rook to b1, and after rook to c3, rook a1, rook to c7. Maxime resigned the game because there is no way to stop this passed pawn from advancing. He realized that, and he say, it's enough torture for me today, and Anand bring excellent win in the first round of the Norwegian chess tournament.